riders of the world. This is the Trek Fuel EXE once more. Now had the bike for 4 months. I've done over 500 kilometers according to the app, so I can tell you more about it. This is the 9.7. I've made some modifications to it. Gone for the hairdo mullet setup, so smaller wheel on the back, slightly bigger wheel on the front. Still got the same Fox fork, Fox rear shock, 150mm front, 140mm rear. Got a GX SRAM rear mech on there, which is a bit of bling for the bike. Same dropper, still working well. Changed the bars and stem, shorter stem, higher rise bars and longer bars. Like a bit more width on the bars and a little bit more rise. Again, rider preference. Also gone for the Maxxis tyres on the wheels. Kept the front wheel that came as stock, but had to buy a new rear wheel because obviously to go mullet. So I'll tell you about the bike as I can give you a lot more information now. I've had it for 4 months, hit a lot of trails, ridden it in the snow, in the ice, in the warm, in the dust. So can tell you more about it. Let's start with how the bike rides. So I'll cut to some videos of how the bike jumps. And then another thing for a bike, when I go out on the trails, I like it to feel playful. So does it sort of wheelie in manual quite well? So I'll cut to a video of that. Then the other thing is, how does the bike perform in terms of technical trails, descending, downhill, that sort of thing. So I'll cut to some videos of that. Not quite. In terms of comments I've had from the other videos when I went to the mullet and my first initial review of the bike, quite interesting, people saying about how somebody left a comment that they dropped a tool on it and it chipped the paint. But I have to say, looking at the paint so far, it seems in pretty good condition. I've cleaned it obviously for the video. It's not normally this clean, but it's still looking pretty good so far. I can't notice any chips, so it's obviously mine seems to be holding up okay. I like the fact they put all the pads down here, because this does take a lot of the sort of chipping away, I think. Frames without this, generally, that's where you'll find some chips. So I think that's quite a good idea. Helps keep it a bit quieter. You don't hear all the stones kicking up a little bit more. So that's nice. Had another comment about how the mullet setup lowered the bottom bracket, which I didn't think about. I just went mullet to go give it a bit more of a playful ride, and I kept getting a bit buzzy on the back, on the bum basically. So it was to do with that, and I'm really enjoying the mullet setup. But yeah, the bottom bracket is a bit lower. I don't know if that means it handles a bit better. I do really enjoy the handling of this bike. The weight of it kind of weighs the same as a enduro bike from 10 years ago, but weight is stability, and actually I'm kind of really enjoying that at the moment. I guess the other thing to comment on is how it climbs, and I have to say, it doesn't feel like you've got an e-bike. It just gives you more power to your legs effectively, or again, makes your legs feel stronger, which I actually really like about the ride quality. It's still very quiet from the motor, still hardly hear it at all, so you forget it's an e-bike. And then lastly, there's the reliability of the motor, which is the TQ harmonic ping. And I have to say, it's been 4 months, 500 kilometers, and I can't fault it. I've cleaned it with lots of water, had no issues with that. Still very quiet, still works really well. Screen's still fine, very clear. Helps if I turn it on. The remote works really well, just very tactile, very straightforward. Shows you everything you need on the screen. I generally just have battery percentage personally. So in that sense, I have to say, the motor from TQ is so far delivered. I mean, 4 months in, early days, but I've literally had no issues. It's just done exactly as it should and worked as it should in all kinds of conditions. So really impressed by that. In terms of niggles for the bike, and it is a bit of a niggle, look at the length of that cable to the remote coming out the frame. I've even fed some of it back through, so there was a bit more poking out. I'm sure you could tie it away a bit neater, but it's working for me at the moment. I guess if you want to do bar spins or tail whips, but it does seem like an excessive amount of cable. Although if you have one of those crashes where the bars go all the way around, I guess it's not going to sort of tear out of the remote, so maybe it's for that reason, but just saying that is a lot of cable. Could probably do with a bit less maybe. Second tiny niggle, that button there, because it pokes out a bit, which makes it easy to find, does get a bit of dirt and grime building up in there. Could have made it flat or recessed, I guess, but I guess the point is you have to look down to find it. But again, tiny little niggle. So there we have it, a couple of tiny niggles. My review is biased. I did really buy into concept when Trek released it. I've been waiting for what I thought was the right e-bike, jumped on it as soon as I saw it come out, but the point is it hasn't disappointed. I had high expectations, and for me it's the one bike. Made a couple of tweaks in terms of bars and mullet and things like that, but for me it's riding like a dream. So this isn't to influence anyone to buy it, it's just an honest owner review, but I guess I have some bias in the sense that there are lots of other e-bikes, so it's not to persuade you to go for this one over any others, but I'm getting on really well with it. So if you're looking at one, I really hope it helps. Thanks for watching. Whoa! Oh! Oh!